All right, you're all set.
Thanks, Josh. Good evening, folks. We are here this third time on August 8th. Mitchell Building Committee. Agenda. Sorry, I had to refresh my screen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Buddy, first on the agenda, opening remarks. I don't know. I see Derek. I don't know if Mr. Dutton is on. So, Mr. Swenson, I'll go to you first.
Thank you, Mr. Dolan. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to once again thank everybody for their participation on this committee. As I said at the last school committee meeting, this is becoming very real right now. We did actually, I thank Alyssa and her due diligence and really working hard with our vendor for our movers, getting them to actually come in a few weeks back. And we were able to get all of the third grade materials over to the Williams. We now have the week of the 22nd where we'll focus on getting all of the middle school materials to here at 166 Mount Prospect. And then all of the materials, which I think our custodial staff, can't thank them enough, at all of our sites, have been able to stage them in common areas such as cafeterias so that the movers can come right in, pick up and bring to the site. So I think this, their efforts have really truly helped expedite the move. So we're very excited about that. And I thank Alyssa for all her hard work in getting that done as well. And I know that we have a few things that we're going to talk about later in the meeting. I just want to put on the radar because I am in 2 meetings right now, kind of going back and forth. So I might have to step out in a little bit. Just some of the dates of the upcoming meetings, Mr. Dolan. Just want to check. I think we have some double bookings again. We have some leadership team meetings on the 29th, and I think the 10th of October is.
So I spoke a few hours ago, and we've changed those, and
okay,
it was updated on the slides when Alyssa presented.
Okay, thank you, and thank you to everybody for your continued hard work and efforts towards the project.
Good, thank you. Mr. Dutton, are you on? I don't see you. Sorry, I'm on my iPad for.
Michael, he is not going to be attending the meeting. He said if there's any type of emergency, he'd be happy to jump on, but just to let him know.
Very good. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Item 5, approval of previous meeting minutes, July 11th. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved, Matt Rushton.
Motion by Matt. Do I have a second?
Second, Lil.
Second by Lil. Roll call vote. Josh, if you wouldn't mind.
Michael,
Yes.
Lil,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Thanks, Josh. Sorry, folks. I should have started by saying John wasn't going to be here tonight, and you're all stuck with me. So you all figured that out by now. Up next, item 6, OPM update. Alyssa.
Hey, get my screen up. All right. Good evening, everyone. Just jump right into it. So the project is currently on schedule. For us, that means we're going for our TCO, our temporary certificate of occupancy, on August 15th. With that allows us to have admin come in the building, teachers and staff come in and unpack their things, and it allows the move to move forward on the week of the 22nd. which we have 4 days scheduled that week. So just continuing on with our construction activities, we're finalizing our finishes with final painting, finishing up that corridor flooring, the gym and cafeteria flooring, and then casework throughout. All the sinks to this point have been installed and chlorinated, so that is all set. And then just continuing up some miscellaneous wall tile in the corridors. So we're also finalizing our electrical work, which is lighting fixtures and devices, continuing site work, so putting in the rest of the curbing, finishing pouring sidewalks, and then installing fence and guardrails. So that exterior work is wrapping up, continuing with the playground equipment. And then we've begun elevator and fire alarm pre-testing. They were looking for an elevator inspection this week. So we're in good shape with that. Continuing with our testing and balancing throughout the building. So our testing and balancing report for our TCO is going to be submitted by the end of this week to allow us to get that, that TCO. So continuing with the phone systems, interactive panels, and computer installations, that's all happening the week of the 15th and the 22nd. And then we're starting to put together that training schedule. So I did receive a few dates over from the PM today from Bacon. So I'll be communicating over some of those dates, and those have to do with HVAC systems, things like lighting controls, upper bowl partitions once we get them, just various things that will be used in the building. All of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, those trainings will be recorded. That's owned in our specifications. So if there were ever any new employees or any turnover, you would have the ability to share those recordings with whoever is in the maintenance or custodial staff. So the move is scheduled for the week of 8/22. As Derek mentioned, we've already moved the 3rd grade materials over. So we have the 6th and 7th grade materials to move over, as well as the 8th grade coming from the high school. And then, of course, our pre-K through 2nd grade things. So that's coming for the week of the 22nd. We've also mentioned to them if they had any availability earlier, we would try to get on the schedule. But for right now, they've had us scheduled for that week for some time now. So just continuing on with those dates. Continuing our regular safety walkthroughs and, of course, our owners meetings every Tuesday. And then we've had various meetings for furniture, IT and communications coordination, and then several commissioning meetings as well. So I'll jump into some of the progress photos, which some of these have been featured on the website, so you might have seen some of these. We're continuing that final paving, continuing the playground installation. This is the K-2 playground. Continuing our cedar fence around the site. And then that cistern was delivered and installed here. This is the front of the building. So we're finalizing our cafeteria lighting. That ceiling has since been flooded, and that flooring in the cafeteria is going in this week. And then we've put on the stair epoxy here. So finishing up that corridor floor tile. So to this point, all of the classrooms have been installed, but to avoid too much traffic, the corridors were last. So those are getting completed now. And then our classroom furniture has, most of it has been delivered and is being installed, with the exception of our student desks, which are coming next week, as well as our cafeteria tables, which are also coming next week after the flooring is installed in the CAF. All right, so I'll go through the schedule and then I'll let folks jump in for any immediate questions after I go through some of the major milestones and things that we're tackling. So before I jump into the 4-week look ahead, I just want to mention we've been having conversations with Bacon and RDA basically on a daily basis at this point, just continuing to track all of the open items, all of the things that are leading us to our TCO and then eventually our C of O that we're targeting over the next few weeks. So to this point, we're into a lot of the final finishes. So again, I mentioned that exterior work going on the outside, prepping and forming those sidewalks, continuing the wood deck, and then finalizing our door and hardware installation. So that will be done this week. And then continuing finalizing all of the casework and millwork. They're going for their final roofing inspection, and then just finishing up some of those edge metals and downspouts of the canopies. Miscellaneous caulking throughout the building, as well as sidewalk caulking. So Chandler will be on site this week, finishing up any curtain wall and window punch list items. As far as systems, they're finishing up that lighting in the cafeteria, which I showed in the earlier photo, as well as in the media center, and finally the corridors. So we have our generator startup finishing this week, as well as our final fire alarm testing. So we're finishing up the piping at the cistern location, and then continuing our testing and balancing. So we're expected to get that testing and balancing report this week on Thursday. And then our commissioning agent will be on site working with the controls agent, just finishing out that programming and that testing of the BMS system. And then we're just continuing our final fire alarm testing, and then continuing to tile at skylights. Again, just finishing the rubble floor tile in the cafeteria, and then the base at all the rooms. That's usually the last thing that goes in. So that goes pretty quick. And then again, our gym floor shipped out on Friday and arrived today. So that's really great news. I know that Bacon had let us know that we may not have the gym floor open for school, but they've maintained that if they were to receive the flooring today, that 4-week duration would be held. And as you can see, that 4 weeks leads us right into the beginning of September 2nd. So with that duration, we should definitely have the gym floor installed, cured, and striped for use. So that's exciting, really exciting news, actually. And so some of the other activities, we're continuing walk-off mats and then finish painting and touch-up. So getting into some of those punch list items soon. You'll see a lot of paint touch-ups going on. So for the ceilings, we're finishing that lobby wood ceiling, and then any of the acoustical tiles on the ground floor. We're continuing wood wall acoustical panels, and then our scoreboard and shot clock is upcoming too. As far as the kitchen, they're starting the kitchen hood startup, and then an ANSEL test with the fire inspector, and then again pre-testing that elevator and doing the final testing. They will be going for that inspection this week. And then just continuing those site features. We have traffic signage actually being laid out and installed. So that's great for our occupancy. And then continuing our site survey for the Conservation Commission. So they're working on their as-built, which will be submitted to the planning board. Continuing those pavement markings after paving. And then eventually towards the end of the month, some of those high traffic areas will be the last areas to be paved, just to preserve that work. And then again, just finishing up the fencing, the plantings. So one thing I did want to mention is we got a letter from Central Nurseries due to the water ban. They've sent us a letter that was just recently issued, which I will also forward to the building committee in the town, that since there's a water ban, it would affect the warranty. So during the maintenance period of the plants, they own watering them to keep them alive. And so they've kind of just sent us a warning that, like, if we're not allowed to water due to the ban, it could potentially affect the warranty. So this is some literature that we just got. Again, we weren't sure how it was going to end up going this week because there's quite a bit of rain expected. So their tune may change. This is just kind of if something were to happen to the plants, they would not cover it under the warranty because we own keeping them alive and watered. So that's just something that will be addressed as, over the next couple weeks on how do the plants do? Are they able to get rainwater? We did have a couple flash floods, if you will, on Friday and yesterday, last night. So we'll continue to keep everyone updated on that matter. It's still a very fresh issue. As for the landscaping, they're finishing around the K-2 playground, and then continuing that pour and place surfacing and the synthetic turf at the playgrounds. And then again, just continuing that construction and final cleaning. Does anyone have any questions before I jump into some of the post-occupancy and milestones that we're tracking?
Any questions?
Michael, I just have one question, Alyssa. So on some of the project timelines getting us into the first week in September, is there anything that's really of concern that you fear may not be completed on time? I mean, it's, at least for me looking at it, there's a few things that are bringing us right to the edge of the cliff.
Yes, so we've had Bacon pull out from the schedule anything that we think is going to go either into the start of school and become night work. So I have that list here in front of us, which I can definitely go through item by item, letting you know the impacts or the situation. But there's nothing that's going to hold us from getting our C of O. Some of this is change order work. Some of this is a lead time issue that's purely aesthetic. There's one. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Alyssa. What I was going to say is, why don't you go through this list? It may draw some more questions. So I think
Right.
that might be a good.
Yes. So I've been communicating with Bacon and RDA about any of the items that we will see go past the occupancy date or otherwise become night work in the future. And so one of those things, again, was the gym floor, but we received it, shipped out Friday, and we received it today. The other thing was the gym pads. So the wall pads in there, there was not a discrepancy, but a disagreement from the vendor on whether they were custom size or not. So they didn't order it right away when they got the drawings released. So that caused a shipping delay there. So we're still tracking that date of how soon we can get those wall pads. But that was one thing that if we don't get that by the end of the month, that's work that potentially has to happen in the night after occupancy. So operable partitions was another one. We issued that in a memo a couple months ago. The manufacturer went out of business. We had to order a substitute. Those have since been released, approved, and ordered. So we're still waiting the date to get that. But again, an operable partition is not going to prevent us from moving in or having the C of O in the first place. Another issue. Yep.
Sorry. Explain what those are.
So an operable partition is basically a wall that comes down to separate the classroom. So we have one in the makerspace that divides the room into two.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So one of the other items we have is we had a missing panel board tub. So systems contracting had gotten several dates for that item, which they were using. That is an 800 amp service to the building. So that was running some of our rooftop units. To this point, we were able to work around it. But in order to get our TCO, this work has to happen. So they're going to get a fuse disconnect box that also meets code. It's been approved by the electrical engineer, and they will install that in order to get that TCO date because our original ordered panel board tub isn't shipping till the week of 9/5. So once we get that in, we'll make the switch over. But it's something that we unfortunately have to just work around right now. But getting that code compliant solution will allow us to get to our TCO and our C of O. One of the other items we have is a change order that came out of our security meeting. So we wanted to get a solar flashing light next to the site, but that was a 10 to 14 week lead time. So upon ordering of that change order, it may not be here for a couple months. So it's not something that's, it was an addition added on to what was the plan. So that's one thing that we're proposing a change for. Again, that came out of our security meeting. One of the other items was the circulation desk for the library. This was a change, and those rolling carts will be delivered in September. Again, not needed for C of O. It's a nice to have. It's something we ordered, but again, it's change order work. This exterior 117 door is from the admin area going outside. The door swings the wrong way for exit of the building. So that frame and door has been replaced, but there was already a working door there, but we're going to get that shipped in December. So again, something not needed for C of O, but we need to get the right door shipped in. So it doesn't mean that the building's going to not be secure or that there's going to be an issue with that. It still swings out. So we do need to order that, and that's coming in December. And again, wood ceiling beams at the media center, that's shipping the end of September. Again, that's aesthetic, so it's not needed for C of O. Box beams at the lobby, and then possibly the bleachers. So that's dependent on the wood floor installation. Again, we said we had the 4 weeks, so we should be able to get those in and installed in time for the school move-in. So we're just continuing to track that duration of the floor. Hopefully they're able to make up some time there to even have less than a 4-week duration. And then pavement markings at the playground. That vendor was non-responsive, and that caused a delay. The railings at the interior walls, again, that's a change order. And then the rule-on panels, those are shipping the end of August. And so that may become night work, but again, not needed for occupancy. So these, to our knowledge, Bacon and RDA and CHA, and now all of you, these are the items that have been earmarked as either late or will become night work post-occupancy. So we're continuing to track these items as they ship. Again, it's nothing here is, besides the missing panel board tub, which we're working around, there's nothing here that we can't live without. So it's not affecting our school move-in, and it's just, you know, the market right now, things are taking longer than usual to ship. Bacon continues to pressure these subs, and I believe also right now RJ has been working around the things that we've had to work around. Again, that being that missing panel board tub. So just continuing to inform everyone of the items. I've asked them to put together, again, dates and times that this work will be happening post-occupancy, so we'll know exactly when to expect the night work. They'll have supervision as well. So we'll continue to get everyone Corey checked and make sure that we have permission and schedules and communication out to everyone when this work is to happen. And with that, is there any questions?
If anybody else has or something Alyssa covered earlier.
Hearing none, Mike, again, if I could, just through Alyssa, I just thank you for the explanation. It's everything there. But as far as the school committee, the superintendent, principals, it doesn't, I just want to know from their end, no worries that the school will open on time. None of these things affect you in terms of opening the school on time, unless something popped up that's not on this list.
Derek and Dennis, I'll turn that to you. Sorry, I can't see everyone, folks.
I think
I don't know
Derek's
if
muted.
Is Derek still on here, or did he go to his other meeting?
No, he's here. He's talking, but he's muted.
No, I'll let him speak then.
Derek, are you there?
All right, then I'll speak. I don't see it.
Hello?
I don't see anything.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
there he is.
I can't because Alyssa's screen's up. I can't get to my unmute button.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. And Dennis, I didn't mean to cut you off, bud. So we can kind of bounce off of one another. Yeah, and to answer Mr. Rushton's question, you know, I've been working very closely with Alyssa throughout, and I know an article came out last week about school in Gardner, and I know that it has, you know, kind of, you know, have piqued the interest of folks and concern by some. Alyssa and I had a long conversation last week, and I told her, just give it to me straight. And I know that the Gardner situation is really truly comparing apples to oranges and not apples to apples, because I think we were so proactive in realizing that lead time on product and materials and different things along those lines. And I know that the big piece was the permanent power piece that, Mr. Dole and myself, everybody who could reach out to anyone at the state level did. And we were able to get permanent power. I know that was an issue in Gardner that I think has set their timelines back in terms of things like getting the elevator inspected and those types of checkbox items that we need to do in order to, open the doors on the 7th. And the first day of school is on the 7th. It's not the Tuesday after Labor Day because of the state elections. So we even bought ourselves another day. So I'm confident in speaking with Alyssa and then seeing this list today, which seems some functional, but more aesthetic type components that are going to need the night work, but not anything from a functionality standpoint with mechanicals or safety or any of those things that are going to hold us back from occupying the building. So I'm confident in what Alyssa is telling me through Bacon and the rest that a tentative plan B is not going to be necessary. I think that we are continuing to make good progress in very difficult conditions, including, the heat over the last couple of weeks as well, I know. But I am confident that we're going to be able to successfully open up those doors on the 7th. And I'm very proud to say that as well. So I know, Mr. Bray, you're here. I didn't mean to steal your thunder, buddy, but if you wanted to add to that.
No, I was just going to say that I wanted to thank you and Alyssa for all your efforts in planning ahead to make sure that we had everything that we needed to be in place. And I'm also, based on that list, very confident that we'll be ready to go on September 7th.
Mr. Dolan, I did have one question to Alyssa, if I could, through you.
Let me just, hold on one second. Matt, does that answer your question? I saw you come off of mute. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have anything follow up on that.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. I think that's really where I was going, was listening to the superintendent really say that, whether or not he felt as though we needed to have a plan B, or we were so confident that it's going to open on time, minus the aesthetic stuff or night work, as long as we can physically open, and with the confidence that he has, and certainly the work of this whole team and the construction team, I feel very confident that he feels good about it. I'm ready to go.
Thanks, Mike.
Just one question to Alyssa. Can't thank you enough about the gym floor coming in today. It may seem like a small thing, but it's really not. Some of those common spaces are the heart and soul of buildings. Looking at the timeline, it looks like with everything, soup to nuts, install, painting, finishing the rest, the Friday before Labor Day. Like I stated, we open on the 7th. I'm just, the concern that I brought up at the last meeting about kind of the ventilation part of kind of helping some of that, the smell from the varnish to kind of dissipate, so that, the students and staff not coming into a building, especially in its proximity to the cafeteria. So I guess my question would be, is that a timeline that we're saying, yes, we can get done by that time? Or is there a way, and I'm just asking, if we did a little overtime at nights, that we can even kind of have that date be prior to that Friday, so that we could make sure that we have proper ventilation to kind of help, again, that odor dissipate?
Yeah, we've definitely requested them to, work additional hours. One thing that I knew that RDA suggested was a lower VOC content for the finish. That way the smell wouldn't be as strong. There is going to be a residual smell for a little while, just because of the level of, freshness of the floor. It will still be able to be used. But I knew that Bacon is looking into options for that. So I can definitely update you with where they landed on getting a less smelly product.
I don't want a lesser product. So I know that
No.
a little bit about the water-based versus like oil-based finished and what's more durable. I'm just saying that if it could be a situation where we get some kind of overtime night type situations, so that that fourth maybe becomes like the first, and you have like almost like a full week to kind of open up, ventilate, kind of get that, because I just know, you know, the gymnasium that's right around the corner from my office, and Dennis will tell you when that gets finished. I mean, that's what you really smell for almost a week of a time, you know, that time. And I just, you know, I'm just concerned about the students and staff walking into a brand new environment, and that's the first thing that kind of hits them as they walk in the door. So if you could keep me posted on that. I can't tell you, I'm over the moon when you sent me that text today with the picture. I really, truly, so I'm not trying to be greedy here, just trying to look out for the best interest of the students and staff in terms of that. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Derek, this is Joe Sullivan. The other thing that we can do is we can actually increase the ventilation within the gym from the mechanical system to vent it a little bit more during off hours. So that might help as well.
Okay.
We'll look at both options.
Thanks, Joe. Joe, is there the windows that are in the gymnasium, do they open?
No, I can answer that one. No, they don't open.
All right. So it's gonna have to be the exhaust through, like I say, like Joe, the rooftops.
That's correct. We would just run them, and you could put them on. They basically, you're allowing more airflow through them at a higher rate of speed, so that there's more air exchanges. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
All right.
Any other questions for Alyssa? Of what you shared so far? I know, Alyssa, you have a couple of slides. All right, going on, please.
All right, I'll continue. All right, so the other thing I've asked Bacon to do is outline any potential or upcoming change orders that we should be tracking. So these figures are estimations or rough order of magnitude. That's what ROM means. So for example, that fuse disconnect, we had a little bit of debate on that of whether or not we should be paying for that, since that has to do with the workaround to get to TCO. So that's still being discussed. The asphalt escalation, which if you guys remember, we had to also address when we did the rebuild of Wally Kruger Way. So again, you know, gas prices and things like that, those fluctuate. Asphalt is something you cannot buy in advance. So we'll ask them to provide that backup when it comes to that change order on what they bought it at, what was the price then, and then what's the price now. And then the difference would be reflected in that change. One item we've asked them to not include is the elevator use for the FF&E. The basis of that was we needed an elevator during furniture installation, and that's to get obviously the furniture from the ground floor all the way up to the first and the second floor to be dispersed. So I felt that the owner did not have to pay for that cost. So that's one that I would want to reject. And then some of these other items, temp generator use, they said the workaround for getting us to test and balance the units in the building, they had to use a generator. However, they would not be charging us for any of the fuel because they would have had to use power otherwise. So they were working with us on that. We did add 2 additional POTS lines. So they did that on T&M because they needed to get that work done. And then there was a discussion of outdoor table tennis, some miscellaneous painting changes, caulking of cafeteria sills, wrapping steel at roof, marker board changes that was due to dimensions, and then repair the FRP at the kitchen. So some of these are finished changes. Again, still to be vetted. These are just estimates or rough orders of magnitude of things that we're tracking to get us close to the end of the job. So again, I asked them to capture any and all costs that they think are coming our way. That way, when we're making these decisions, we can be more informed. So that's the PCO list for now.
Michael, could I ask Alyssa a question? This is Mark.
Is it about this slide, Mark? I just
Yes,
wanna.
yes.
Go ahead.
So my two things. The asphalt escalation is not a new additional change order. That is the one we already approved, correct?
No, the original change order that you saw for asphalt was when we rebuilt Wally Kruger Way. This is for all of the final paving that we have to do. This is for top coat. This is for the intersection at South Street. So again, this is a rough order of magnitude. That work isn't done. So there's no way to fully encapsulate what that final cost would be. This was just a rough order so we can estimate what it might be, but it's not finalized yet.
So this is an additional change order that wasn't anticipated, and now we have $100,000 on the table. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, it was anticipated because we paid for it when we did Wally Kruger Way, but that was for the asphalt we purchased and installed for that scope of work.
Okay, it just seems like a pretty high number. And the
Well-
other thing is all the abbreviations sometimes are hard to follow. As a member of the committee, they're like a bunch of acronyms. If you can help us understand that, or at least me, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Next time I can spell it out so that it's more clear. But ROM means rough order of magnitude. FF&E is furniture, fixtures, and equipment. POTS line is plain old telephone service.
Okay.
So next time I'll just spell those out so that way it's more clear.
Thank you.
Alyssa, on the asphalt piece, to Mark's concern, this is an increase in price.
Yes.
No, we knew we were going to have to pave, obviously, but
yes.
The increase in cost, Mark. I think that's the unfortunate piece to gas prices going up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah,
Thanks for the clarification. It makes it easier to understand. I was just getting worried. We're getting towards the end of the project and the change orders. See, I mean, we want to end the project, I hope, with a lot of money saved that we can use for other things. So
yes,
absolutely. I just wanted to
Mike,
make sure it's clear for everybody that not new, just unfortunately costing us more because of prices.
Mike,
Thank
it's
you.
Pat. Can I ask Alyssa a question?
Go ahead, Pat.
So Alyssa, in the, a lot of prices escalated since we bid the project. Was there specific language that in the contract that said if asphalt prices went up, that got passed on to us, or was the asphalt not part of the bid originally?
So I'll have to look back in the bidding language and the documents before we approve and recommend this for a change. But for this specific one, we've purchased asphalt for those areas, but the cost is now increased since the purchase date. So the bid was maybe done 2020. So the cost has increased from 2020 to now.
Right, but I guess my question is, if let's say asphalt went down, would they be giving us a credit? Is that how the contract is written? Was a price held for asphalt in the contract?
I'll have to look back at the unit prices, but I believe there would be a cost already for the asphalt. But unfortunately with asphalt, you cannot pre-buy it. It's the price you're paying for is today. Whereas equipment, once it gets ordered and released, you're buying it that day. So with asphalt, it's something that the price fluctuates.
All right, and I just, I'm curious to see if, what the price they carried was and what it is today,
Yep,
right.
so that's something that we will have vetted before presenting a formal change. This was just something to capture what we potentially may be tracking. But again, when I explained in the beginning, we're going to be looking at what was the price when they bought it and what is the price now, and we would be looking for that breakdown before we were ever approve a change that big.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Alyssa, if you want to keep going.
Okay. So I'm almost done with the presentation here, but just want to recapture some of the dates that we're tracking. Again, we got our permanent power. We're testing and bouncing through this week and then continuing to program with the commissioning agent and with the controls subcontractor. So this is just making sure that the readings that they're taking from the units are accurate and that each zoned thermostat is pulling the right temperatures and pushing out the right amount of air. So that will continue through the rest of the month. Our substantial completion date still remains as August 15th. Again, that's the date we're going for our TCO. So RDA is working with all of their engineers to get affidavits out and then get our inspections scheduled through Bacon in the town. So again, tracking that August 15th date, we're still on target. Furniture installation began on July 18th. I mentioned the last few things we're getting next week are the student desks and also the cafeteria tables. As far as owner vendors, we have Ocher's coming in to do the interactive panels. We have Metel doing the phone systems. The district's IT manager, I've been working closely with him. He's right now imaging and getting those computers ready to be able to install those once we have the desks all set up and ready. He said he needed about 3 days to get that work finalized. And then the occupancy/move is the week of August 22nd. Again, we have 4 days with Sterling doing the move that week. And then we're tracking that taxpayer tour for August 27th. So as of right now, that date is still a go. As long as we have CEVO by that date, we will be able to do the tour. And then tracking the first day of school, that's September 7th, and then ribbon cutting for September 10th. So those building committee dates, the next one we were going to do is in 3 weeks. And then I adjusted to September 12th and October 17th due to other conflicts. So I'm not sure if these dates work for everyone. It's something we can talk about offline, but those are the dates we're projecting right now. And then just continuing to track and update our budget as we get near to the end. So we're tracking really well on our FF&E, the MISC project costs, and our contingency. So we'll touch more upon that in our change order section for tonight. And then just continuing to submit our pro pay. Does anyone have any questions before we jump into anything else?
Any other questions for Alyssa before we move on the agenda? We'll move on to item number 7, designer. Actually, Alyssa, done. Sorry, are you also?
Yes.
Sorry. I saw Jean on. Jean, you're up.
Hi, everyone. I will share my screen if someone will let me.
Josh, if you wouldn't mind.
You should be all set.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Yep.
So John and I are here. Let's see. Can you see the this memo?
We can, yes.
Okay, great. So we sent out a memo. I think Alyssa issued it Saturday. Really, everything you've been discussing, obviously John and I and Alyssa have been coordinating on. So we too are confident about getting the temporary C of O. And, we agree that the items that might have to be after hours work are, I won't call them minor, but right, they have no impact on life safety, no impact on the building code. So we're looking forward to being at the dedication ceremony. So we had a change order, which is the only thing I wanted to go through. I'll say unfortunately, just because of the quantity, there's 13 items on it. And I'm happy to go through them all. Maybe I'll go through them quickly, and if people can feel free to interrupt me, Mike, if if they want some more explanation. But
Or if you
is that okay?
want to do just a high level, that would be good. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So this is change order number 16. The total's $157,000, which is kind of one of the larger ones we've had. I did point out at the beginning that about $50,000 or $48,000 of that is just related, this is optional work, but we talked about doing those railings around these lay lights, just to keep kids from being tempted to go on them. And I'm sure that's gonna, I don't know if it'll pay for itself, but it's certainly gonna be a lot easier for the maintenance staff and the teachers, over the next 50 years of use. So we issued this sketch, and in this upper right-hand corner here, this is the corridor. When you come in the main lobby, you take a right, and it's the kindergarten corridor, and we have 3 of these lay lights. 2 of them are dog leg, I'll call them. They'd have a railing on 2 sides, which are here and here. And then the one here on the left has 3 sides. So kind of given your, I don't know, your approval to get pricing at the last meeting, we did do this sketch and we submitted it to Bacon, and they came back with that price of $48,000. So that's a big chunk of the 157. Another one that's on here is another 11,000 or 12,000 for addressing, which I think everyone was very enthusiastic about, painting different piping systems or different components of the building systems, different colors. So these are not the colors that they'll be. We've issued a schedule which syncs all the various components with the floor colors. I don't know if you remember, we had a very elaborate kind of finish schedule. So we have paint colors that sync very well with all the wall colors and floor colors. But we did issue this. John was fabulous about going through and actually highlighting all the different systems, so the painter knows exactly, not this color, but this is the boiler water supply, and you go down here and it's dark orange and it's a Sherwin-Williams color, blah, blah, blah. So between those two, that's a lot of the change order. Just some statistics. If this is approved tonight, Bacon's contract will have been increased by a total of just under $1 million, which translates to 1.88%. And of that, a quarter of that number, so let's say it's $240,000 or whatever it is related to underground site-related changes. And then everything between owner asks and things that just had to be corrected, it's about 1.43%, which is a pretty positive number. There are some minor changes yet to come. I pointed out, Alyssa just went through kind of a list. What we were focused on were changes that might be related to finishes in the building. So I think it's going to be less than $15,000, but there's still a few things like paint this or change this, just to kind of trick out the building completely. And then she already mentioned that there's this issue with the asphalt that she is, CHA and Bacon are working out. So I hope this is high level enough, but one of the items is $7,600 if you round, and that's for the traditional building dedication plaque. So this has been triple and quadruple checked, and it was released to Bacon. I'm not sure if anyone knows the timing on getting it, but
I don't. We're focused on the Mitchell plaque right now.
yeah. But anyway, this is underway, and this will go in the main lobby vestibule. So there's a lot of minor ones. It's $1,100 here to put an aluminum cover over some plumbing pipes that are in the library. There's a sink in the library. It's on the inside of what's a glass wall to the corridor. So, you know, some of these things you just see when they happen. You're like, oh no, you're going to see the piping for the plumbing. So to cover up the rough plumbing piping, you know, John arranged to get these brake metal covers done. They'll match the storefront. It's, you know, $1,200. There's $460 to change the color of some through wall flashing I had said the cafetorium, I misunderstood. It's at the media center on the outside learning deck. There's another $3,500. So yeah. I'm gonna give you a little vertigo, but just go back up to the first picture. I don't know if you remember, but as all these floor openings come down through the building, each corridor has its own paint color. So this happens to be the yellow one. And the corridor up on top of it, this little triangle up here is a different color. So where the two colors come together, instead of just having the colors kind of come together and not have any real joint between them, we authorized Bacon to install what are these reveal moldings. So it's like a little 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch reveal. It won't get painted, and you'll have one color up top and one color down below. It'll be a nice sharp delineation between the two. Again, I'm going fast, but please feel free to interrupt. So then there's another $1,000 we have sprinkler heads at the stage. Everything in the stage is painted flat black, but we didn't think during design, oh, the sprinkler heads are going to be white or stainless or whatever they are. So it was about $1,000 to just have the sprinkler heads painted out flat black. So when the doors open or the curtains open for the stage, it's just a nice background, and you know, you're just focused on whatever the performance is. There was a security system meeting between public safety, the district, you know, obviously us and CHA. And there are a few changes that came out, like that flashing sign that Alyssa was talking about out on Route 18. So one of the things was that there was a request to have 5 additional doors have card readers. So, you know, there was this access control, you know who's authorized to go in, when they went in, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, that was about $27,000. This was just frankly, RDA, you know, we messed up when we were dimensioning the edge of the floor slabs at openings, you know, all these openings that we have in the corridors. And John's been doing his best, and CHA and everybody, to try to figure out how to get the railings in around these without spending a lot of money. And this is about the best they could do without changing the floor slabs. So there's $20,000 there, and you know, I just put that in the category of an oops, and I apologize for that. This one came up by the manufacturer of there's so many sinks in every commercial building, and instead of turning a faucet on and waiting for the hot water to come up from the hot water heater in the boiler room, what they do is they run a hot water loop that's pumped, and then, you know, so you're just drawing off this loop. You're a lot closer to it when you open up the spigot for hot water. John, maybe you can explain a little bit more, but the manufacturer suggested the way it was routed was gonna give some false readings, shut it down.
At the actual hot water heaters, the way it was piped, the manufacturer had requested that we revise the piping. And when I brought it to the engineer, he said, well, this is news to me because the manufacturer's never told us. And the manufacturer agreed that this was something that they're implementing now because they're getting some false readings and it's shutting down the hot water tank. So this is, I think this was like $2,500, but whatever the cost was, it was worth it to have the plumber repipe it so that Tom, the facilities manager, wasn't chasing false readings about the hot water being on or off, or the pumps being on or off. So this is something that the manufacturer did admit that they were catching up with in their designs, and they hadn't brought it to the engineers yet. So we felt it was worth it to do it now instead of getting the false readings that Tom would have to deal with for a long time.
And I neglected to put the cost in on this one, just slipped by, it was $2,800. So, you know, obviously we felt that was well worth it to save the maintenance people a lot of heartache.
And the plumbing inspector was actually on site when this was done. And he agreed with the manufacturer that this is something that we should do because it will save the false readings later. So.
Gosh, so we're in 9 of 13, I apologize. So this is the one we talked about before, 11,000 to paint out those plumbing and mechanical systems in the maker space. Alyssa had brought number 10 up, which was $4,300 to get that new flashing solar powered sign out at Route 18. So people coming southbound, when the buses are exiting, the sign will alert them that buses are exiting onto the road. That came out of the security meeting. The OT, PT, and adaptive PE rooms, they have like swings and other pieces of equipment that actually hang down from the ceiling that, you know, they use with the kids. This was slated to come out of the FF&E budget, but when we saw kind of the, I don't want to say jury rigged, but you know, when we saw it, we're like, really? That's what you're going to do? We just said that the school would be better off with a more robust kind of hanger and an eye hook. And there's 3 or 4 locations. Okay, there's 2 of these. So they're about, I don't know, $3,800 each. But it's done by the hollow metal person. It's all welded into the structure, and it's like an unbelievably robust fixture that'll be there for, again, we keep thinking of the building as minimum 50 years. It'll probably be, if you keep it up, it'll probably be in service for 100 years. So we thought that was worth it. And then we had talked about the railings around the lay lights. That's 48,000. And then the last one is 21,000. And this is related to the N-Grid having a hard time or just not getting the power up in the building. And again, John can speak more from a technical, but once you get power, then you have to start up all the HVAC system. You have to balance everything. And, you know, the contractor, because things came late, the power came late, is now having to compress the time. And I assume that this is all for overtime work and stuff like that, John, or am I?
It's some extended time, but it's more for doing things twice in the interest of making sure there's no problems when we get to the final TCO requirements. It takes time after the equipment is powered to run it through its paces. And you don't want to find that out a day before you want to get an affidavit or issue a final report. So they jury rigged the power to get the equipment running to check it. And then as they got power to the units, they could run the official balancing and generate the report. So that's what they're doing now. The end of this week to the end of this week, they're generating that report now. Had they not done this preliminary, we wouldn't have been able to get that report this week. It would have been at least 2 more weeks afterwards. So this is something that was discussed and back and forth, and we kind of knew it was coming. We hoped it wouldn't be this much, but we've been through this with the engineer. We've been through this with the people on site, Bacon and CHA. And this is just, it's directly related to the fact that Engrid just couldn't get there. And I think anyone that's been in our OAC meetings knows that we have been jumping up and down about getting Engrid there and what the consequences of that would be when they didn't show up. And this is just another one of those circumstances that because they just didn't get there, we have to take this on the chin.
So that's, I know it's a lot of blah, 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 but I hope it all makes sense. Like I say, there were quite a few change order or items on this one. So with that, Mike, I don't have much else to report. I think most of it is about getting the school open.
Very good. Thanks, Gene. Any questions for Gene? Gene, if you would stop sharing for a minute.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Yep.
Appreciate it. Any questions for Gene? Don't see any. Okay. Thank you, Gene.
You're welcome.
Moving on to item 8. Bacon payment requisition number 19. Alyssa, if you could, thank you.
All right, so we have the requisition through the end of July. So the payment for this one is $1,464,417. Again, reviewed by CHA and RDA, commented and reviewed through Bacon.
Good. I'll entertain a motion.
Sorry, Mike, I'll put a motion to approve payment in the amount of $1,464,417.
I have a motion by. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I'm sorry, I just missed the payment numbers at 15.
It's 19.
Sorry about that. Payment number 19.
Yep, very good. Thanks, Matt. We have a motion by Matt Rushton. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. It's Mark.
Second from Mark Lindy. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Josh?
Michael,
Yes.
Lil,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Patrick,
I believe he dropped, Josh.
thank you. All right, thank you. The motion was approved.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on to item number 9, approval of Bacon change order number 16. This is the what Gene just reviewed for us. Do I have a motion to approve this change order?
Motion to approve Bacon's change order number 16 in the amount of $157,897.20.
I have a motion by Mrs. Holbrook. Do I have a second?
Matt Rushton will second.
Motion by Mr. Rushton. A second, I should say, by Mr. Rushton. Thank you. Any discussion on the change order? Seeing none, I'll call for a roll call vote. Josh, back to you.
Michael,
Yes.
Lil,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Scott,
Sorry, yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Thank you, Josh. Up next on the agenda, we have, oh, I just lost my agenda. I apologize. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Item number 10, approval of Ocher's change order. Alyssa, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Mike. So I'll jump into this one. This is an owner vendor. We're working with Ocher's on the interactive panels. There was an early design discussion to not have recessed boxes behind the TVs due to the immense cost. So during a couple months ago, one of our meetings, Michael Shantz was on to present a change order to install movable mounts for the panels. That way the panel could be moved up and down to allow the students to be able to use it. It is a touchscreen, so they'll be able to interact with it and use it for learning. When we began to do the mock-up and install one of the panels, we found that the mount was getting caught on the outlet because it does stick out. So to work around that, Ocher's came up with a solution to get a concealed cord that connects into the outlet to make it flat. And they were able to build around blocking through the back of the monitor, which allows for the mount to sit on that backing. So this cost is for 94 locations of where the interactive panels are. It's to build out each of the backings for this. It's to paint it so it looks finished and it's not just like a messy, unfinished plywood. So there's some discussion on how we wanted it to look. So I do have a photo of it as well to show you all. But this is basically being done so that way we're able to use those movable mounts. It was an unforeseen circumstance, but the cost benefit of it is we'll be able to use the mounts, and if we didn't go with this solution or something similar, we wouldn't be able to use the mounts as it sits. So I'll just show a quick mock-up of what this looks like so everyone can understand. So it is black to match the back of the board, and the way it just sits out about 3/4 of an inch, but it looks like it's part of the mount. So aesthetically, it's not something that jumps out at you. We are having RDA look at it tomorrow just to see the mock-up and the performance of it. It doesn't mess with the integrity of the TV or the adjustable mount. It actually allows for it to be able to move around. So with labor and materials for that one, we had them put together a change and again use one of the mock-ups. So that's why you see only 93 here versus 94 down here, because they used one to already do the mock-up, which they didn't charge us for. So the cost for this was $28,265.07. And upon approval of this change order, they'll be able to start installing those interactive panels for the new school year.
Any questions for Alyssa? Order. Okay. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Ocher's change order.
Matt Rushton, so moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Rushton. Do I have a second?
Lil, second.
Second by Mrs. Holbrook. Any further or any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, Jeff?
Michael,
Yes.
Lil,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Very good. Thank you, Josh. Moving on, item 11, quick report from the communications group. As Alyssa mentioned, the 27th, from 9 to 12 is our tour for the public. We were waiting to sort of let that message go out until tonight to make sure that we were all set to go for that. So that invitation you will start seeing on our website, and we will be releasing it to the Facebook admins for the different Bridgewater sites and school sites. So that is coming. Also spoke to Scott earlier today. Scott has a drone. Scott got his drone license. So he is going to do some aerial shots, if you would. Scott, I'll sort of, if I misspeak, jump in by all means. And we'll be able to share those with BTV to get them out to BTV so they can put them out there. Maybe we can put them on the website and our Facebook page as well.
Yeah, Mike, actually, if there's a chance of getting indoors, I could actually get some interesting shots indoors too, you know, zooming down the hallways, things like that.
Yeah, we can look at that. We can talk to Alyssa about that, work with Bacon, see if they'd be amenable to that. We can certainly have that conversation. Did I miss anything?
No, but Mike, the walking tour that you did back in, was it February, April, I think it was, when Derek was, you, Alyssa, Derek went through the building. Where is that at right now? Alyssa, do you?
On the neighborhood news on the website? The walk we did through in April.
Yeah.
So I just post the links in the chat for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So maybe we should add that to our Facebook page as a. Okay. So, like I said,
can I ask a question?
Oh, go ahead, Dennis.
Sorry, Scott, is there any way when you take those aerials of the exterior of the building that maybe you could share those with me, and maybe we can mock those up with the traffic pattern and things to send to parents?
Yeah, one of the things I could do is actually do a full aerial, like what's called an orthomosaic, so it looks like a satellite picture of the whole property, of the whole building and everything. You could do that, and I could give you that, as well as doing like some like more just aesthetic video shots.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that invitation will go out obviously to the public, and just as a reminder, September 10th is the ribbon cutting, and that invitation or that event, I should say, is an invitation only. We have started to get supplies for that. We have 2 giant scissors have been delivered and engraved. We have the ribbon. So that invitation will go out shortly as well. So I think that covers everything. Lil, did I miss anything?
No, you have it.
Okay. Matt, did you have a question?
You must be watching me on mute. I actually did, just for the communications group, but maybe to the superintendent. So I know we discussed earlier the project timelines and how they're getting close to our anticipated opening. And I may have missed this, and it may be happening within the district. I may have just missed it or haven't received it. But certainly being in Bridgewater, as we all know, with Facebook and other sources of information, it seems to be, at least from my end, a lot of anxiety for parents who are under the impression with kids that are planning on going to the school that it will not be open on time. And so I'm just wondering, either through the district or through the school committee, as we get closer and we're 100% confident, maybe another week or so, is there any plans either on the website or through district communication to sort of relieve that anxiety that the building will open? Maybe it's when, you know, I'm not sure what the sort of the point would be, at what point to do that, but just curious, is that being thought of And what's the group's feeling on it?
Dennis, I think Derek had to drop to that other meeting. I don't know if you have any insight on the communications to families. I know you sent something out to staff this week.
So I did. I know I sent something to staff today after talking to Alyssa this morning, and I said I would follow up with them after tonight's meeting. And I don't want to speak district-wide, but for the Mitchell side, as we do get closer, Mr. Rushton, we will definitely be sending things to parents, and we'll be scheduling after the community open house. We'll be scheduling another open house for parents and students to come tour the building and see their classrooms before the school year begins. But I didn't want to send all that information until I wouldn't want to send it and then have to say, sorry, we have to postpone that. So it will be coming shortly.
Yeah, no, totally appreciate that. I just, like I said, hearing a lot of anxiety from parents, whatever their source of information is, that they just don't believe the school will open on time. And so I could imagine with a kid that's going to the school sort of wondering what is the plan, and we have no plan B. So I was kind of looking for communication to go out to them. So that's great. Just wanted to bring it up and see what people thought.
We'll get that out soon. Thank you.
Sounds good.
To that point, Matt, and I think you and I've had this conversation before, is people need to stop speculating and actually go to the source. So they really should be calling and asking the questions at the Mitchell office if they have those concerns. Mr. Bray is working all summer. The secretary, Mrs. Louder, is there all summer. They're happy to answer those questions. So for anybody who might be watching this on recording, if you have a question, by all means, please reach out. Don't listen to the speculation on Facebook. It really gets everybody nowhere, and the anxiety for no reason at all.
Thanks for the 1,000 phone calls tomorrow, Michael. I appreciate it.
I get that every day.
And additionally, Mike, they could actually email the Bridgewater School Project as well.
They absolutely can. We have that email address. It's on our website, bridgewaterschoolproject.com. That's where all of the information, all of our agendas are, our meeting minutes, our presentations, it all lives there. So,
Michael, do you add something?
sure.
We certainly all know that, and I get it, Michael. We know even in town we've had to discuss that. The information is there; they're just not going the right place to get it. And
right,
just hearing a lot of people mention it, I was like, wow, this really just must be on the minds of a lot of the parents that have kids anticipating going to the school.
Yep. Very good.
Michael, could I chime in on that? This is Mark.
Just 1 second, Mark. Alyssa wanted to jump in there real quick as well, and then you'll be next.
I just wanted to touch on the Gardner School Press that was mentioned earlier. That school situation is in a much different situation than we are. And I know, Derek mentioned it's apples to oranges. It really is that. Their permanent power from National Grid came a month later than ours did. So as you know, that 4 weeks makes a big difference in the schedule. So they lost that 4 weeks that we had. Additionally, for their elevator inspection, they didn't order a POTS line that calls out in an emergency. Again, that copper line that in the extent of an emergency or a power loss, if someone were to be stuck in the elevator, they need to be able to make a call out. So we installed POTS lines at more than one location in the building, actually. We have them in the area of refuge. We have them for our security system. We also have them in the nurses suite and the admin suite. So those POTS lines were installed by Verizon. And with that, their elevator inspection would not pass because they didn't have a POTS line and their call out was blocked by their firewall. So again, that's the situation that we don't have here. So upon our successful completion of those POTS lines, we're able to make that call out from those various areas in the building through an old-fashioned, plain old telephone service, a copper line. So just to give that little bit of context in these situations, it is a project that we're aware of. We knew it happened before the news hit. But again, very different situation, different project. It's also a different team as well. So, you know, we have RDA, CHA, and Bacon on this project. You're getting the A team here. So we're all very confident that we're moving in the right direction towards substantial completion and the move-in.
Mark, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm just picking up on Matt Rushton's comments. Being someone that's done PR for years on the local cable station, I think a little clip, a little video with the superintendent or the chair of the school committee or something is more proactive. I think people aren't going to call. I think they're going to gossip and talk about stuff. I chase people off the 02324 site on a regular basis that want to post negative thoughts about the school, and I don't respond to them because I know what our protocol is. But as it's getting closer and people are getting concerned, it's kind of like a picture is worth 1,000 words. Just a thought. You know, I know we don't want to do it too early. Today's the 8th, but closer to the date, maybe 2 weeks from now, might be a good idea to do that.
Thanks, Mark. We can take a look at doing that with BTV and Alyssa and Derek. So thank you for that.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else on that? Okay. Seeing none, item number 12, our next meeting's just a reminder, 72 is 29th of August, 73 is the 19th of September, and 74 is the 10th of October. So please mark your calendars. If you cannot be at any one of those meetings, I would just ask you to let Josh know ahead of time to ensure we have a quorum. We have no new business, which brings us to item number 14, public comment. And I don't believe there's any public on this evening, but I'm just going to sneak through. I don't see any. I'll call for public comment one more time. Okay, I don't see any. Bringing us to item 15, adjournment. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Holbrook, second by
Second,
Mr. Rushton.
Matt Rushton.
Yep. Josh?
Michael,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting's adjourned.
Thanks, folks. Have a great one.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Night, everybody.